Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about men that most people don't realize. A man can walk around all day acting strong, confident, and unshakable. But when it comes to expressing certain truths about how he feels, he holds back. Not because he doesn't feel them, not because he doesn't believe them, but because the moment he says them out loud, he's exposing the deepest part of his heart. And for a lot of men, that kind of vulnerability feels risky. So there are certain compliments men never say, even though they live inside their chest every single day. A man may never say, "You make me a better man," yet this thought lives inside his heart every single day. It is one of those compliments that he carries silently because admitting it feels like giving away too much of himself. Men are raised with this idea that they must stand strong, independent, and unshakable. And when he says those words, he is admitting that without you, without your influence, without your presence in his life, he might not have become the man he is today. That level of vulnerability feels heavy for him because in his mind it suggests weakness. But the truth is, he knows it in every single action he takes. When he chooses a better path instead of falling back into old habits, when he pushes harder because he knows you believe in him, when he takes responsibility for his life because he doesn't want to disappoint you, all of those are silent confirmations of this one powerful compliment. He may never put it into words, but his life becomes living proof of how much you impact him. The reality is, men are not always comfortable putting their emotions into sentences. They are wired to show rather than to say. So instead of openly confessing, "You make me a better man," he will prove it through growth. He will go out and grind harder. He will make sacrifices that you may not even know about. He will strive to achieve more than he once thought possible because deep down, he wants to be the man you believe he can be. And while his mouth may never release the words, his actions constantly speak them. Every time he chooses to step up, every time he chooses responsibility over recklessness, every time he grows into a better version of himself, that's his way of telling you how much you've elevated his life. Think about it like this. A man doesn't just wake up one morning and change because he feels like it. Change is hard, growth is uncomfortable, and improvement requires motivation. For most men, that motivation is love, respect, and the presence of a woman who sees potential in him, even when he can't fully see it himself. That influence shapes him in ways he may never articulate, but he feels it deeply. He becomes sharper, wiser, stronger, and more disciplined because he wants to live up to the vision you have of him. And even though he won't say it in words, the truth is written in his choices, in his determination, and in the way he rises after every set. So when he looks at you and stays quiet, when he hesitates to give that compliment out loud, don't mistake it for lack of recognition. He knows exactly what you've done for him. He knows that without your support, your love, and your steady presence, he might have remained stuck in the same place. He knows that you push him to dream bigger, that you make him want to stand taller, that you inspire him to fight harder. He may never say it, but in his heart, he carries the realization that you have made him a better man than he ever thought he could be. That is not something easy for him to admit because it exposes just how much of his strength is tied to you. Yet if you watch closely, his life tells the story. His growth is your reflection. His success is your influence. His transformation is your silent compliment. The silence does not erase the truth. A man's actions will always reveal what his words sometimes cannot. And while he may never look you in the eye and confess, "You make me a better man," His journey, his effort, his resilience, and his determination to keep building a stronger future alongside you will say it every single day in ways that words never could. That is the unspoken compliment, the one he holds in his soul. And though you may never hear it, you are living inside the evidence of it every single moment. A man may never say, "I admire your strength," even though he thinks it every single day of his life. It is one of those unspoken truths that stays trapped inside his mind because men are not always conditioned to voice admiration, especially when it is directed toward the person who holds him together. He may see you carry burdens with grace. He may watch you handle responsibilities that would break most people, but his lips stay sealed. Not because he doesn't notice, not because he doesn't value it, but because saying those words out loud means admitting how much he leans on your strength. And for a man who has been taught that he must always be the rock, always be the one in control, acknowledging someone else's strength feels like exposing a part of himself that he's not comfortable showing. But make no mistake, he admires it more than he can ever say. When life throws challenges your way, he sees the way you hold things together. He notices when you sacrifice your comfort to make sure others are taken care of. He notices when you put your dreams on hold so that the family, the relationship, or even his ambitions can move forward. He notices the late nights, the early mornings, the times you bite your tongue instead of complaining, the way you keep moving even when you are tired. He notices all of it. A man may act like he doesn't, but in his heart, he carries a deep respect for the resilience you show. That quiet strength becomes his safety net, the thing that keeps his world steady when he feels like it's about to spin out of control. But instead of telling you, "I admire your strength," he shows you through the way he leans on it, sometimes without even realizing he's doing it. Men often measure strength by physical power, endurance, or control, but when it comes to what truly matters, they know deep down that real strength looks different. Real strength is waking up and facing another day, even when yesterday drained every ounce of energy you had. Real strength is holding a family together when finances, stress, or circumstances could have torn it apart. Real strength is keeping faith alive when everything around you seems uncertain. And he sees you doing this day in and day out. He sees you fight silent battles. He sees you swallow pain without always sharing it. And he sees you stand tall when most people would crumble. That kind of strength humbles him. It reminds him that the backbone of his life is not just his own effort, but the incredible force that you bring to the table. Yet why does he struggle to say it? Because admitting it out loud means acknowledging that he cannot do it all alone. It means confessing that without your resilience, without your persistence, without your ability to push forward, his own strength might not be enough. And that is not an easy truth for a man to embrace. From the time he was young, he was told to be unbreakable, to always carry the weight, to never depend on someone else. So when he sees your strength, it shakes those beliefs. It shows him that strength does not always roar. It sometimes whispers through patience, sacrifice, and silent determination. He admires it more than words can explain, but he hides it because he fears that saying it would make him seem less powerful. But if you look closer, his admiration is everywhere. It's in the way he trusts you to handle things he can't. It's in the way he relaxes when you step in, because deep down he knows you've got it covered. It's in the way he feels secure, not just because he's strong, but because he knows you are strong too. That is the silent compliment he gives you daily. He may not say it, but he builds his world around it. He may not speak the words, but he draws confidence from knowing that your strength is the reason his life doesn't fall apart when storms come. So even if he never looks you in the eye and admits, "I admire your strength," never doubt that he does. It lives in the way he watches you when you don't know he's looking. It lives in the way he depends on you, even when he pretends he doesn't. It lives in the way his heart feels at peace because your strength holds him steady. Words may never pass his lips, but his respect for your resilience, his gratitude for your sacrifices, and his quiet admiration for your ability to endure will always be written in his actions. A man may never say, "I can't imagine my life without you," even though it is the most honest compliment resting inside his heart. It is not that he doesn't feel it or that the thought never crosses his mind. In fact, it crosses his mind more often than he will ever admit. He feels it when you're gone for just a few hours and the house feels empty. He feels it when something good happens and his first thought is wanting to share it with you. He feels it when life gets hard and the only thing that brings him comfort is knowing you're by his side. But to say those words aloud requires a level of vulnerability that many men aren't comfortable with. It's not easy for a man who has been taught his whole life to be tough, to be independent, to never depend on anyone else, to suddenly confess that his world would be incomplete without you in it. That confession exposes his heart. It makes him feel fragile, and fragility is something most men have been trained to hide. So instead of speaking those words, he shows them. He shows them in the way he tries to protect you, in the way he makes plans with you in mind, in the way he includes you in his vision of the future. When a man can't imagine life without you, you become a part of every dream he builds. He may not say it, but if you pay close attention, his actions reveal it. The way he works harder, the way he sacrifices, the way he pushes himself forward even when he is tired, those are his unspoken ways of telling you he can't picture a life where you're not there to share it. The fear of saying those words also comes from the weight behind them. To admit, "I can't imagine my life without you," is to admit total dependency, to admit that you are more than just a partner. You are his balance, his safe place, his anchor. That's not easy for a man to admit because it makes him feel like he has handed over a piece of control. He fears that by confessing it, he reveals just how deeply he needs you. And need is something men are not always comfortable ignoring. But the truth is, when he sits quietly at the end of the day, when he reflects on what truly matters, he knows his life would not be the same without you. He knows that the happiness, the stability, the direction he has found would not carry the same meaning if you were not there to share it with him. A man may not say the words, but he feels them when he thinks about the future. He feels them when he imagines holidays, milestones, or even the ordinary days ahead. You are there in every vision. You are there in every plan. He doesn't see his life unfolding without your presence in it. Even when he avoids saying it, his mind is already living inside that truth. You are not just a part of his present, you have become a part of the future he is building. That is why he works so hard, why he fights through challenges, why he pushes past failures. Because the thought of creating a life without you is not one he can entertain. So while he may never whisper the words, "I can't imagine my life without you," he lives them every single day. He shows them in the way he holds on to you, even in disagreements, in the way he comes back after arguments, in the way he refuses to let small problems tear apart something so valuable. He shows them in his persistence, in his loyalty, in his desire to keep the connection strong. His love may not always be spoken, but it is always present. And if you pay attention, you'll see that this silent compliment is not hidden at all. It is written in the way he lives his life, in the choices he makes, and in the way he cannot let go of you no matter what storms come. A man may never say, "I acknowledge your strength and your sacrifices," but that does not mean he is blind to them. He sees more than he lets on, and deep inside, he carries an awareness of everything you've given up, everything you've carried, and everything you've endured to keep things together. The reason he struggles to say it is not because he doesn't value it. It is because those words hold weight. They force him to confront the reality that much of what he enjoys in his life today, much of what makes his world steady, is built on the sacrifices you've quietly made. For many men, admitting that truth feels uncomfortable because it reminds them that they are not standing alone, that their path has been made easier because someone else was willing to pay the price alongside them. Think about the times when you held back your own dreams just so he could pursue his. Think about the days when you worked double as hard, carrying responsibilities that were never supposed to be only yours, just to keep the balance from breaking. Think about the nights you stayed awake, worrying, planning, or praying for him, for the family, for the future. Those moments rarely get spoken about, but they are not invisible. He may not voice it, but deep down he recognizes that the life he has, the progress he's made, and the man he has become are tied to the sacrifices you have made without asking for anything in return. Acknowledging your strength also means admitting that you have carried things that he could not. And for many men, that is a hard reality to face. He was raised to believe that his role is to carry the weight, to protect, to shield, to endure. And while he does try, he knows that without your strength, many battles would have already been lost. He has seen you hold the family together when money was short. He has seen you smile in public when you were breaking in private. He has seen you endure disappointments, heartbreaks, and struggles that would have destroyed others, yet you kept going. He may never look you in the eye and say it, but his respect for your strength runs deeper than any words could capture. The sacrifices you've made are not small things. They are the foundation that allows him to dream bigger, to aim higher, to live more freely. Without your willingness to set aside your comfort, his journey would have been harder. Without your patience, his mistakes would have cost him more. Without your strength, his moments of weakness would have swallowed him whole. He knows this, even if he doesn't always admit it. And every time he gets up and fights another day, every time he continues pushing toward his goals, he does so knowing that you've already carried more than your fair share to keep the dream alive. He may not say, "I acknowledge your strength and your sacrifices," because those words require him to be vulnerable. They force him to admit that he has depended on you more than he has ever wanted to show. But the truth is there. It shows in the way he looks at you when you're not watching. It shows in the gratitude he feels when he realizes how much you've given for him. It shows in the pride he carries when he talks about you to others, even if he doesn't tell you directly. He knows your sacrifices have shaped him, your strength has carried him, and your love has sustained him. So even in silence, that acknowledgement exists.